God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilor Mercier. Roll call.
Council Leary.
Here.
Council Mercia.
Here.
Council Milonazo.
Here.
Council Rourke.
Here.
Council Samaras.
Here.
Council Belanger.
Here.
Council Elliott.
Here.
Mayor Kennedy.
Here.
Council Leahy.
Here.
9 present.
Councilor Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for Reverend Lucian Sawyer, OMI. Father Sawyer was educated in Lowell through high school and was a communicant of St. John d'Arc Parish, where he first encountered the missionary oblates. He held bachelor degrees in philosophy and theology and a master's degree in English literature from Catholic University in Washington, D.C. He professed his first vows as a missionary oblate on August 2nd, 1943, and perpetual vows on September 8th, 1946, and was ordained to the priesthood on February 24th, 1949. Father Sawyer spent 20 years teaching English and French literature on the faculty of the Oblate College and Seminary in Maine. He spoke English, French, and Spanish and was so proud that his former students were sent to preach and teach throughout the United States and Canada, Haiti, Japan, Brazil, Colombia, and other South American countries. Following his years of teaching, Father Sawyer was assistant pastor at Notre Dame de Lourdes Parish in Lowell. Father Sawyer was active in the Franco-American group in Lowell, was instrumental in translating several books from French to English. Father Sawyer is survived by his nieces. He will be truly missed. May he rest in peace. And I'd also like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for all those who have died since our last city council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. I'd also like to offer a moment of silence for the tragedy today in Brussels. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the first order of business is the minutes of the Neighborhoods Subcommittee of March 14th, the Ad Hoc Charter Change and Election Subcommittee of March 15th, and the City Council meeting of March 15th, the minutes for those meetings for acceptance. Do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilor Mercier to accept the minutes, seconded by Councilor Leary. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Being before 7 o'clock, we'll skip ahead to communications by the city manager. We have motion responses A through F this evening, and we'll start with A, which is possible upgrades to the intersection of Princeton Boulevard and Baldwin Street. Any discussion on item A? Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Through you to the manager. So basically, that's kind of like just a waiting game. It's a state's responsibility. Do you have a feel for that when we might get any type of response from them?
Thank you. Well, the good thing is they had no plans whatsoever to do anything there, so at least by us inquiring, they are now going to be looking into putting in money to upgrade the area around there. So we did push them along a little bit, so we'll stay right on top of this, and also with the I'll make sure that the state rep from that district also stays on top of them also.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on item A? If not, moving on, Council Mercia.
Since we're in the vicinity of Princeton Boulevard and Baldwin, do we have any upgrade as to what's happening at that famous controversial lot?
Mr. Manager.
I met with the owners last week, and it wasn't a very productive meeting. So what I've done is I've assigned an assistant city solicitor to go up there and work with the inspectional services department to research and look at any and all violations that we could cite the person for, and then come back, report to me, and they will start enforcing those very swiftly and severely so that we clean up the area so it's fine for the neighbors again.
Now, when we have ordinance on the books and we give out permits and we say there's conditions and rules and regulations associated with this permit, in the ordinance, we also say that there's fines associated if they don't comply with these rules and regulations. Is that true?
Yes, that's true.
So are any fines levied on this person?
That's what I'm having the assistant city solicitor research to make sure that we know exactly what actions we can take under ordinances, under public safety rules, all of
Thank
the,
you, thank you.
anything, any and all violations that we can proceed against them.
I don't like people thumbing their nose at this city, and that seems to be what's happening, and that irritates me more than anything else. When I have to play by the rules, and so do my colleagues, then businesses should have to do that too. But that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If nothing else on item A, we'll move on to item B, which is illegal parking along Weston Ave. Council Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I want to thank the city manager for this report. It really is a complete report. I know this has been a problem at Weston Ave, this illegal parking. Mr. Manager, or one of your staff, could you just give an outline of what the intent of this report is?
Mr. Manager.
Yeah, basically, we're trying to come up with a way that we can provide parking for people who visit the Weston Ave studios and that. One of the problems that we've encountered is that the shops on the other side of the street are parking the cars that are needed to be repaired. And so what we're looking at doing, and what I'm thinking of doing is, as a first proposal, is to, number one, put meters along the right. If you're coming down from School Street along Weston Ave, is to put meters along the right side of the street. So this will free up cars for the businesses, especially at the Weston Ave studios. They'll only be able to park there for a limited amount of time. And then to restrict overnight parking, because what we don't want the businesses to put all their used cars or their cars that are going to be repaired along the right-hand side, and then there's no spaces in the morning for anybody. So that's the trial that we're planning to implement to see if we can free up spaces along Weston Ave for the people to frequent the studios and any other people that they have to visit there.
Thank you for that report. Thank you.
Any further discussion on item B? If not, moving on to item C. Item C is a rehab police, the Lowell Police Headquarters. Any discussion on item C? Council Leahy.
Thank you. Through you to the manager. So this was a good report that we got. Seems quite thorough going through, what's needed over there, and gives us a sort of lays out a plan of where we want to go. My question would be the timeline of some of the smaller things. So some of the painting, small budget stuff. I did talk to Jim Green today because they put the new speakers in the chambers here, and he said, he's at 3 different locations all the time, but and they are doing some painting at the police station now, outside the booking room, but we were trying to get the locker rooms done and maybe just the hallways into the locker rooms, and that was short money. We just have to find the time. I had a question on the doors. I had thought maybe there were about 15 doors or so. The report gives us maybe there's 30 to 35 doors that we want to get, have a card reader on it. And I didn't know, I'm pretty sure when we redid the new dispatch room, that there's a system on that. And I didn't know if we could tie into that one, or it was mentioned to me that we could tie into the school's system. So I didn't know if there's some sort of a licensing agreement or setup costs that you had to pay. And I didn't know, maybe we could avoid those setup costs and then get these, probably there's 10, but we'd like to do 35. But if we could get what the actual cost would be to do those doors with a card reader system. I don't know if the estimate was complete from start to finish, or because we've already started it, you know what I mean, we could save some money. And then as far as some lockers, I know there's a situation where we'd like to get new lockers, but there could be there's a need for a couple of lockers right outside the bathrooms where the officers can just secure their gun before they go in. So in a nutshell, I was kind of hoping we could get some of this work done ASAP and then devise a plan on working on the rest. Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Before I turn it over to the chief, in 2 weeks, we're going to be giving you the presentation on the new police headquarters, which I think you'll find out we're going to have to go this route.
Okay.
Because it's just too expensive.
Yeah.
And so I think we'll be addressing these issues on a more expedited fashion in the near future. But Superintendent, could you answer the question about the doors and the locker room?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mayor, to Council Leahy. The swipe access card system, we do have several doors in the police department that we've already upgraded as part of the new dispatch center. So we've got some of the infrastructure in place, including the licensing agreement for the computer system that services that. What I would look to do as part of this potential upgrade is to increase the use of that card swipe access system to 35 doors. That's certainly not all the doors in the police department, but those are the critical entry doors that would provide some increased level of security to some critical areas in the police department, including the prisoner area, the general, detective areas, the first and second floor, and also some of our areas that are critical, like our evidence area and our areas where we store various weapon systems.
Would you know, Chief, are they looking at the company? Do they want to just give us new doors, new jams, new doors and everything, or is this retrofitting what's there?
Yeah, I don't believe that the doors are included in this, Counselor. I think that this is just the cost of the security upgrades for the locking system.
Okay, all right. And then, okay, and then the camera systems, that didn't seem to be a big ticket item, but, that would be a goal too, to get more cameras in there.
That's correct. We would, obviously, a video surveillance component, some of these critical areas are absolutely necessary.
Okay, all right, thank you. And I just, through you to the manager, just one other question. We had talked at some point about if there's any way to restructure some rooms over there or move around. We're still looking into that, I assume? Okay.
Yes, I actually walked over there myself to look at that, and we'll be looking at that down the road.
Okay,
I'm looking to move some people around, and that
Yeah.
will be part of it.
okay. Would there be, I know the crews are tight, and we're coming up to the end of the fiscal year. Is there any way we can take a look too to see if we had a few crews in there, just on some overtime, a couple of Saturdays, to get the painting done? Can you just run the numbers on that? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but if it's a way we could just speed up the process. I know they're in demand and they're in the schools and other buildings, the fire department, the police department too, and over here, so anything we can do to expedite it would be appreciated. Thank you.
Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in reading the report, it seems like there's a lot of, piecemeal, take it step by step type of things to get the, the station fixed. I guess, Mr. Manager, the $30 million, if that was given, through some magical way to the police station, would that bring it totally state of the art, up to date?
Mr. Manager.
Yes, it wouldn't be up, it wouldn't be up to date as if we built a new one, but it would make it all the safety requirements, the bringing the prisoners in a safe fashion and segregating it. It would make it as good a facility as we could under the circumstances.
And were there any rough estimates to building a new one on city-owned property?
In 2 weeks, you'll see that. We'll be making a presentation on the study that was done, and you're looking at to build a new police station. This is just construction cost, not acquisition cost of property. You're looking at a minimum of $55 million to build a new facility. And so, plus you have to add acquisition costs, which is probably another $1 to $2 million.
Okay, and not to give Mr. Baldwin a heart attack, but if we did,
I do it.
are we better off, bonding out the $30 million to get it up to date, to get it safe, or are we better off going this route where every year the chief comes before us with $1 million here, $1 million there, just to, I guess, put Band-Aids on bigger problems,
We'll do a financial analysis of the cost to do the new facility to upgrade it to the $30 million and what's the best way to proceed.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Samaras, then Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. I just want to echo Councilor Rourke's request. When you look at the $1 million, it's a lot of money, but it's a bandage on a situation which requires a lot more work. I think many of us have been through the police station, and it's, we owe a lot of credit to the police officers that work there, that they're able to get the work done that they do, because of, it's in some areas, I think it's just difficult to work. So, Mr. Manager, yeah, I look forward to that report. And the issue, will that also include the fire department at this point? Or are we just talking police station?
Mr. Manager.
We're talking about a maintenance facility for a joint maintenance facility for the fire department and the police department and DPW. And you'll see that there's also a presentation about having the DPW in the same place, which will make the cost even more. But I think it's going to be we just had a dry run today from the people who conducted the feasibility study. It's really interesting. Is it 2 weeks we'll be? April 5th we'll be making the presentation, and it's interesting. It covers all of those issues
No,
there.
thank you for that type of thinking. That's what, it's important at this particular point. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the information, Mr. Manager. I appreciate the fact that you're trying to hit the bare minimum for the police department over there. I believe, I look forward to the report next Tuesday in 2 weeks. And of course, you hire a consultant, they're going to come back and give a recommendation of the best and the greatest. And I don't think we need the Taj Mahal by any stretch, and I know you don't, nor your administration. However, the Band-Aid approach, I agree with Councilor Rourke where we're kind of nickel and diming, or we're just, we're not doing things, I think, in the best interest of the people that pay the bills. And I firmly believe that, putting $30 million into that building, we toured that building about, it was year and a half ago. And if that was any other building in the city, commercial, industrial, and it went through code and building and health inspections, I feel it would be condemned. So I think that we don't need to spend $55 million, granted. I also think it should be centrally located. I hope this consultant that we paid good money to took a look at the satellite offices that we have throughout the city, because one of the reasons, yes, we'd like them in the neighborhood, but they're also a place where officers can write reports because there's no space over there. We have detectives interviewing, arrest the criminals, and with the perpetrators on one side and the victims on the other. It's a poor operation, and I don't think that we should be compromising public safety. And to some degree, I think we do. Maybe because I've been through that and I listened to the officers and the chief gave us a thorough tour of the conditions. So I think we need to take a hard look at that study and change it. The arena started out to be a $28 million building, and then through discussions on what was affordable, the scope is narrowed down to something that was more affordable, and I think this is something that we have to look at. Now, I know finances are tough, and you know that, Mr. Manager, that's why you're recommending, this approach, but putting $1 million here and $1 million there, it ends up, what we have right now. So, and I'm not saying, along with my colleagues, that we have to go out, again, spend 50 million or 40 million or 30 million, but let's take a comprehensive look and say, we've got garages here, we have all kinds of satellite offices all over the place, and see if we can come up with a reasonable solution. So I know that's forthcoming in the upcoming weeks. And what is that land worth? Can we do some exchange? Can we do, have some private business buy it? And again, I know I've said this in the past, and I'll stop here, but, maybe the police department, you can't have commercial and a police department that we have at the senior center, but there's got to be some solution where we can take our police department into the, into the 21st century without breaking the bank, and at the same time, really improve conditions and operations of the Lowell Police Department. So, thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council Leahy.
I'd just like to add one thing. The goal here, I know that, the goal would ultimately be if we could provide a new building for the police department. But I think we're all on board that for short money, we can do some of this stuff, the doors, the alarms, the painting, maybe not the lead abatement, but some of this stuff can be done just like we did the chambers here with the public-private partnership. I'm sure that we could get people over there to donate some materials of time for the painting, for the ceiling tiles, for the lockers, for the alarms, and things like that. And that estimate was fairly short money. Then you get into the lockers. We could see what we could do with that. But, we had a write-up in the New York Manhattan paper about what we did in the chambers. And they talked about the public and the private partnership. And I'm sure we could do that over there fairly quickly if we could work out the details and at least get something done over there. It's a start. And then we can deal with, what we have to do. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too appreciate the information in the report, and I would stress to the administration and to the chief that we should begin some of this work to make this police station actually almost more acceptable, obviously, than it is now. But I would encourage both the manager and the chief, and I know the chief knows the police chief from the city of Revere, and the city of Revere just built a brand-new police headquarters along with a brand-new central fire station adjacent to each other. In fact, originally the buildings were going to be connected like we have next door, but they decided to separate them at a cost of a couple $1 million, but for operational reasons, not for anything from the standpoint of architectural. So again, I would encourage the chief and the manager to reach out to the administration down. I know that some of our neighboring towns have built police stations recently, but literally they're still connecting the sewer and water to these facilities, so they have accurate numbers. So I would, again, thank you for the report, but I would encourage you to reach out. Thank you.
Any further discussion on item C? Not. Let's go to item D, repeated dumping on Lawrence Street. Any discussion on Council Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did get a report back, a very interesting report, that the second part of this scenario is that there would be involving installation of hidden cameras with motion detectors to try and video capture license plate information of any illegal dumping. I think that is wonderful as well. Speaking about cameras throughout the city, I received feedback from people concerned with this council supporting cameras throughout the city and how they were irritated that we would be violating their rights. And I say to those people, if some thug came along and hit you over the head and knocked you out and robbed you, you would be thankful that there was a camera nearby filming this whole thing so we could capture the perpetrator. I firmly believe that we do need these cameras. People who add to the deterioration of neighborhoods should be caught and be held accountable, and that's why I firmly support cameras. So if you would do that over there. And the reason I brought this motion forward isn't because this isn't the first time. It's repeatedly people dropping things off. And when the good people in the city pay to put their items out, and then there's others that could care less and just dump week after week because they know the city's going to come by and foot this bill. All of us are paying for this. And to make the city, looking nice, we do pick it up. We don't leave it there. And it's very disconcerting to see that those people are getting away with it. Well, I hope this camera catches those people so that they will be held accountable, and that's why I'm thankful that there's something being done. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Is there any other discussion on item D, Counselor Elliott?
Just a quick question, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, how many cameras do we have for these types of, sort of undercover operations, just for illegal dumping? I don't want to know where they are, but
Sure, we have 6.
there are 6.
We have 6 video cameras.
And they're rotated somewhat on a regular basis?
We move them around on a non-regular, random base. I mean, we don't move them into regular sites on a regular basis, but we do move them around the city. They're battery operated, so they have a limited capacity for video to capture, but they are motion sensitive, and we try to position them so they only capture someone who's on that property and not just people driving down the street.
And what's the level of effectiveness? I mean, on any given day, are we catching 1 or 2, or is it on a weekly basis? And I know you have to go through the footage on all these.
It's actually unfortunately, it's much less than that, in part because in order to effectively capture somebody with a video camera, we have to get a full capture of the license plate. These video cameras don't generally capture someone's facial features enough to catch them by that. You have to get a full catch of the license plate. So it's probably on a monthly or semi-monthly basis that we do get enough information to find the owner of a vehicle and then prosecute the owner of the vehicle for the dumping.
Can we get those reports, Mr. Manager, just to let us know, hey, by the way, this month or this week, not names, but just to let us know the cameras are working, we can let the public know the cameras are working, because I think that, word of mouth, so to speak, that's how we send a message that you can't come in the city and dump.
Mr. Manager?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because just this property that you talked about, we filled up a dump truck full of trash and moved at our own expense to clean up the area. So I think we'll maybe give quarterly reports. How's that sound?
Sure, we can give quarterly reports. I would request that we not be required to put on the locations that we're getting these.
No, I agree.
Just for
Just for the
security.
council and the public's.
Just to see what we're finding when we go out there. I think it's a good idea.
Absolutely.
Is that all right, quarterly
No, that's
reports?
perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Any further discussion on this item? If not, we'll go on to the trolley system, item E. Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the report, Mr. Manager. I just have a question on the reprogramming of the Sarbanes grant. Do we have an update as to when that may happen?
I'd ask Diane Tradd to step up, but I know what I see. It was specifically designed for a trolley system
Right.
in the historical district.
Right. Your idea of doing a multimodal,
In the historical district is
right,
what we're
makes
trying
some
to
sense
do.
if they agree to reprogram
Right, so what we're
them.
trying to do is to reprogram that 1.5 million so that we can concentrate on providing that multimodal. Could you just give an update? I know you
Sure.
spoke to,
We have a call into the FHA to determine if there is another project that would meet the intent of what the trolley project was, so we could reprogram that money. We have a bunch of ideas. All the partners are getting together to see what we can come up with, but we are working with them to see if we can reprogram that.
Okay. We're not at risk right now of losing that money, are we? No, okay.
No.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the trolleys? If not, before we do item F, we'll go to, it's being shortly after 7 o'clock, we'll go to the public hearing. The public hearing scheduled, it's an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances for the City of Lowell, Massachusetts with respect to Chapter 266 entitled Vehicles and Traffic. We'll open up the public hearing on behalf of the proponents. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing on behalf of the proponents and open it up for those who wish to speak in opposition. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? 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 close the public hearing for those who wish to speak in opposition. Do we have, what's the pleasure of the council? Do we have a motion to approve?
Yes, so moved.
We have a motion to approve by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Rourke. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
Going back to item 3.1, in letter F is the year in review, 2015. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the City Council. Believe it or not, as we come upon the close of my second year of my administration, I thought it might be helpful to explain some of the successes that we've had in the past year, especially relative to the three areas of priority of the administration: economic development, education, and public safety. And of course, none of these priorities could be successful if it wasn't for sound financial management. And I have to commend this City Council on the budgets that you have approved in the 2 years we've been here. You've provided the resources necessary so that we can have these successes in these areas of priority and across the citywide in other areas. First of all, I've given you a handout that sets out in detail what's happened in calendar year 2015 relative to our successes. But what I'd like to just do now is just briefly highlight some of the major areas in that presentation that we gave you. First of all, in the Hamilton Canal District, we've been very successful in the Hamilton Canal District. As you know, the Judicial Center is slated to be, the construction is slated to begin this summer or early fall. That's a $175 million building. I think it's going to be great to spur economic development there. Right next door, Genesis Healthcare is poised to begin construction of a $35 million skilled nursing facility, the largest downtown investment since the Wang headquarters. As you also know, is that we've engaged Watermark, who's interested in constructing a $7.5 million corporate headquarters in the Hamilton Canal. I just think things are really moving along there, and the MassWorks grant that the governor gave to us is going to allow us to bring the infrastructure into the north side of the Hamilton Canal and able to develop that even more. Across the rest of the city, major large companies have located to Lowell. We all know about the Markley Group, a $200 million redevelopment project of the old Prince Macaroni building. We've had Jabra, Somerset Industries, an interesting thing. Somerset Industries took over the old post office on Phoenix Ave. That was tax-exempt property. With Somerset Industries coming in, it is now on the tax rolls and generating taxes where it never did before. Navigation Brewery has remained in Lowell. We gave them some CDBG funds to help them stay here in Lowell, and they've relocated to Western Avenue, and they're doing quite well. Obviously, we're also big proponents of small businesses. We've seen Uncharted Gallery, Bishop's Legacy Restaurant, Jimmy John's, and the Mandarin Asian Bistro, just to name a few businesses that have located in downtown Lowell. And of course, Couple Square. Couple Square is a trademark for the future. The improvements that we've made in Couple Square, we are going to bring across the rest of the city. And as you know, we've already told you about our plans to do that on the Bridge Street corridor. Education. Education is key to a successful city. Nobody has been more committed and more supportive of public education in the city of Lowell than this City Council. When I came here 2 years ago, we were $3.8 million in the red in our net school spending. This year, in fiscal year 15, we are exceeding our net school spending by over $1 million. And for this fiscal year, it's projected to exceed net school spending by $5.7 million. That's an incredible turnaround from a $3.8 million deficit to a $5.7 million surplus. We've given $1.5 million in increased cash to the Lowell Public Schools above our fiscal year 15 amount. We've given $3 million increase to charter schools, $500 increase to the Greater Lowell Technical High School, $475,000 for school improvements, and I can't impress it enough, the largest school building project in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts history is moving forward in Lowell. The construction of the Lowell High School is being poised to be constructed, probably starting within a year to 2 years. We're going before the Mass School Business Administration on April 4th to have them approve our owner's project manager, Skanska Corporation, who has a rich history in constructing schools. So we are moving quickly along, and it never would have been done if it wasn't for this bold move of the City Council to authorize us to borrow $2 million to jumpstart the Lowell High School project. Public safety. This city is so much better today than it was 2 years ago in 1 year. From the Lowell Police Department, we've decreased our crime offenses by 10%. We've had double-digit increases for 2 years running. We are now up to 245 sworn police officers. We are going to add 3 police officers through a SAFER grant that the police department have, and I plan to include another 2 police officers in our upcoming fiscal year budget, so that we're going to have 250 sworn police officers. This is a figure unheard of for at least a decade, and this City Council has provided the resources to provide that many police officers. We've curbed gun violence. Everybody knows that. Is that our 9/11 calls for shots fired this past year was down 47%. And we are moving forward. All of our officers are trained to carry and to give out Narcan. We know it's a terrible scourge that it's affecting every city in the Commonwealth, and we've trained our officers to save lives out on the street. We've purchased and we're training our officers to use tasers, and obviously our community policing efforts go forward, especially with our bicycle patrols and getting out into the community. The Lowell Fire Department is making great strides due to this City Council's investment. In September, we hired 9 new firefighters. This City Council approved a capital budget that allowed the fire department to buy a new pumper. It's delivered in spring. This pumper cost, I think, approximately $500,000 to purchase, but it's something that the fire department needs to replace outdated machinery. We've purchased Jaws of Life. And also the fire department, I don't think people realize just how integral and how important the fire department is to fighting the opiate abuse problem, because all of their vehicles are equipped with Narcan, and the firefighters oftentimes are the first people on the scene of a tragedy like that, and they have saved lives. We were able to secure a SAFER grant. We're going to hire an additional 12 new firefighters. We're now going to have a total of 213 firefighters on the force. This, again, is a figure unheard of in probably over a decade, Chief, I would say. So, again, the planning and the training that the fire department is doing is just terrific. And public safety is not just the police and the fire. Public safety is making sure that our houses are safe for people to reside in. And that's where development services comes in. And they do a great public safety. They work closely with the police and the fire department relative to the NEED program to deal with problem property landlords. We've been able to secure additional funds with our final cost affidavit, where once the project is over, the developer has to file a final affidavit showing us what was the true cost of construction, and we collect the building permits based upon the true cost of the construction, not just some estimate up front. And also the DART program. This is the development services working with the police department to target drug residences and make sure that they're shut down. So it's been a great year. I've really enjoyed it. I love this job. As I told you in my interview, this is a great city. This is a great city council. I'm enjoying this job more now than I did 2 years ago, and that's because of you 9 individuals. And the highlights is education, the additional $1 million for fiscal year 17, public safety, police and fire at all-time highs, economic development, just not new companies coming to Lowell, but the curb appeal, the $4.4 million that we did in paving, sidewalks, and curbing, the $250,000 for traffic signalization, and of course, the Tiger grant that we received in order to repair the bridges in the city. And I have to credit the gentleman sitting next to me here, and Bob Healy and Rodney Conley. They received the Government Finance Organization's award for the last year's fiscal year budget because of the package that was put together. They're a great financial team, and this city is in better financial straits than it has been in years. But we do have challenges, and in fiscal year 17, the challenges we have is closing a $16 million gap in our departmental budgetary requests, a $4.3 million increase in our pension assessment. We're still paying down the snow and ice deficit for last year's snowstorm. So there are costs that are going to be challenges to us in the future, but I know I have great confidence in this financial team that they will address those costs and the city will be able to move forward as it has in the past 2 years. And that moving forward means making sure that the downtown and the neighborhood business corridors are safe, clean, and thriving. It's making sure that we meet net school spending year after year after year, and it's also making sure that we're committed to public safety and making sure that people feel safe in their homes and on the streets of Lowell. And with the support of this city council, I know that will continue, and I thank you very much for your support over the past year, and I know we're going to do even greater things in fiscal year 17. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any discussion? Council Mercia.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say that this is a very good report, and I'm very, very proud of your accomplishments. I firmly believe in the philosophy that you're only as good as those people that you surround yourself with. So having you as our leader, I know that you think we're your bosses, and we are, but to have you follow our direction and then give us the credit, which I'm very, very honored that you're doing that. I'm very proud of having you serve as our city manager, and the people that are in front of us, Rodney, Michael, Connor, and Bob, do a tremendous job, and I couldn't be any more grateful. I'm so very, very blessed, and the city is very lucky to have such talent in this room. And Christine, you do a great job, and I'm just proud of everybody here, and I'm truly grateful for this report. And it was like your State of the City address. It was like, just like the president does his on January 20th, you just did yours now. This is very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Council Leary.
Just first, I think the economic part of it is something you guys have really done a good job with. Just bringing in big name companies like Kronos is massive, and it's impressive, and it's going to lead to helping out in the tax base. And I think the way of looking at the city is really we are, with UMass Lowell as a linchpin, are really locating startup companies here. And I think really that's going to be our biggest challenge. As good as we've done thus far, or as good as you've done with your team, that's an area we can really increase. And I think if we do that, it's going to help the tax base going forward. So I think the challenges you've laid out are difficult. I think the net school spending is going to be a challenge. I think the charter school spending increases next year will be a challenge to meet. I think adding the public safety that you had are still going to be continued challenges for you. But I think you have a good action plan in place, and I think you have a good team behind you. I think the biggest thing that we haven't spoken about in a while is the Lowell High School. I think that's going to be, as you said, it's historic for the Commonwealth. I think it's going to be huge in terms of keeping a lot of the middle-class folks within the city long-term, long before we're all have left these chambers and other folks have replaced us. But I think you've started out in a good way, and I think it's with the team approach, we're going to be able to meet those challenges. So I am impressed with what we've discussed tonight. I look forward to working with you next year and hoping to meet a lot of those challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Milonazo, then Council Samaras.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too am very impressed with the report, Mr. Manager. Thank you. 2 years ago, when you started as city manager, you talked about public safety, education, and economic development, and obviously you've focused on those 3 areas and you've made great strides. I also want to comment on the fact that I've served with the city manager on the Lowell Plan Board and the LDFC Board, and I just think it's so important that you continue the communications with the private businesses, the private sector here, because I think Lowell has always been unique and that's always been our strength. So I think it should be noted that you've kept that partnership going and growing, and I just want to acknowledge that as part of this report. So thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Council Samaras.
Thank you. And I too want to thank the city manager and his team for what they've done. You know, originally when you were interviewing for the job, you talked about education, public safety, and economic development being your priority, and you certainly have met that priority. And basically there are times when we've had people before us, different groups, concerned about lack of communication, and you made sure as city manager you communicated with them directly. But when I look at this budget, it's the quality of life for this city, and that's what you've done. You're making sure that the people who live in Lowell are truly going to have a good quality of life in the sense that we have a positive attitude towards education, towards public safety, and we're on our way. Sometimes you wonder, are we going to make it? I think with this report, it shows that not only are we going to make it, we are making it, and it's to you, to your credit and your team's credit, and I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for keeping your word on what you would do. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to echo little comments about my colleagues. I think since you came on board, Mr. Manager, of April of 2014, you've made promises. I think that working together, your team and the council, I think we work together as a team as well. I think things have gone exceedingly well. I think we've exceeded expectations. I'm very proud of the report that's here in front of us tonight. I think you hit all the major aspects of the city, of what makes the city successful. I'm looking forward to the following year. I know there are some concerns that we do have, but as in the past, I think you and your team have dealt with those problems and pretty much for the most part have come out successful in the end. We've come to you with problems. I think the best thing you have done in your tenure has listened to us and done your best to fix those problems. And I think, by and large, that has happened. So very impressed with that. And again, speaking about the teamwork aspect, I really do think that the council as a whole, along with you and your administration, I think work very well together. And as long as Councilor Leary doesn't screw it up, we should have a pretty positive next year ahead. So thank you for your work.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Council Leahy.
I just wanted to add one more thing too, that it is a strong team approach, and you should be very proud of your accomplishments. And I think what you brought back is that this is our city, your city, and it shows, So when you're from Lowell, it's for Lowell. So thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Elliott.
So I will be brief because I know that we'll be taking up a motion to evaluate you soon, Mr. Manager, and you've sent us that document. But I want to concur with my colleagues. I think for most of the time since you've been hired as the mayor, I've spent a lot of time here and spent a lot of time working with you, and the accomplishments are certainly admirable. But I think equally important is within the last 2 years, you've had to deal with a lot of uncertainty, and I think you've handled them professionally, poised, and prepared, you and your staff. And items that come to mind, certainly the opiate epidemic, but it's things like when we had the Ebola crisis, and certainly historic snowstorms and other major issues like that I think your experience and your ability to make sound decisions came into play, and the city is a better place for it. But not only that, it's paying attention to the small things. Certainly when you came on, one of the focuses about 2 years ago was the downtown. I think we've addressed those issues because you took your walking tours, you listened to the people downtown as well as the other business districts, and it's not that we just focus on businesses. We do focus because they help pay the taxes and keep the rates down for our homeowners. And I think that's equally as important, that we continue to look at ways, you and your administration, to continue to deliver those services, and at the same time, try to keep taxes as low as possible, try to keep fees down. And I think that's equally as important, looking at restructuring debt and still making sound financial investment choices. So I appreciate, I look forward to continue to work with you, Mr. Manager, as we continue to put projects and other items into the pipeline, moving the city forward. And I appreciate all your effort in communicating and dedication to the city. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, the chair would accept a motion to accept the response to the communications from the city manager and place them on file. We have a motion to that effect by Council Milonazo, seconded by Council Mercia. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next item of business is a communication from the city manager requesting out-of-state travel for one person from the Division of Planning and Development and one person from the Lowell Police Department. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Samaras. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next order of business is to a vote to amend the City of Lowell Complete Streets Policy. If there's no objection, we'll
Motion to waive the full reading.
waive the first reading. And the second reading is to amend the City of Lowell Complete Streets Policy. We have a motion to approve. We have a motion to approve by Council Milonazo, second by Council Rourke. Discussion on the motion. Council Milonazo.
Just a quick question. I take that this language, multimodal, will support our argument to transfer or reprogram those monies. Okay. Thank you.
We through you, Mayor, to it, what happened is we sent in the complete streets to the Department of Transportation. They just wanted a more succinct definition of what multimodal means, so that's what it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Excellent.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
The next item is a vote to authorize the city manager to enter into a license agreement with Tho Lee, doing business as Green Spoon Restaurant, to encroach upon the city property on 108 Merrimack Street with an overhanging sign. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full reading, the second reading, authorizing the city manager to enter into a license agreement with Tho Lee, doing business as Green Spoon Restaurant, to encroach upon the city of Lowell property at 108 Merrimack Street in Lowell, Massachusetts. We have a motion to approve by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Leary. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next item, number 4.3, is a vote to transfer $3,010 to Division of Development Services for travel expenses. If there's no objection, we'll waive the first reading and do the second reading. And transfer of funds to provide funding for conference fees and travel expenses to 2 local building inspector plan examiners in the Division of Development Services. We have a motion to approve. Motion to approve by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Leary. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next order of business is this order for a 60-day trial. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full reading.
We'll move.
Go to the second reading pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances in the City of Lowell, Massachusetts concerning Section 266-6 thereof, entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Motion to approve by Council Leary, seconded by Council Elliott. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next is an ordinance to amend Chapter 9 of Boards, Committees, and Commissions to create a Sustainability Council, formerly known as the Green Building Commission. This would be referred to a public hearing for April 5th, 2016 at 7 p.m. We have a motion to do that by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Belanger. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is an ordinance to amend the Chapter 266 on Park Avenue East and the Pine Art School. With first reading, we'll waive the first reading, and so the motion, the proper motion would be a motion to refer to a public hearing on April 5th, 2016 at 7 p.m. We have a motion to that effect by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could, I'm not 100% sure if it's in order, but I would actually like to amend the ordinance as presented and go back to the original hours from 8:30 until 9:30 in the morning and 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. In the afternoon. I think that type of system works in other schools in the city, and I just think by having this ordinance from 8 to 4 just continues to cause problems, not only in the neighborhood that abuts the school, but also at Shed Park and some of the ball fields up around that area. So I would like to offer in substitution that we amend the ordinance and go back to the original hours that seem to have worked for many years.
Second. Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Leahy, to amend to go back to the original hours. Okay.
Roll call on that.
All right, any discussion on that, on this? Councilor Elliott.
Just a question. Traffic engineer, could I ask you, or through you to Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager. How many cars do we feel we're talking about that would be affected by this change, or are affected by this change? Do we have any idea?
How many
You
cars?
do a traffic count, right?
I don't have a traffic count right now. Sorry.
Okay. Generally, do we have any idea? We're talking 50, 100, 300, or?
Yeah, I think just the volume of the school itself has a significant volume of traffic. So I think, yeah, you'd be talking in the hundreds.
But we're talking about changing the one-way back from Parkview to, okay, was the recommendation to make it one-way for school hours?
Mr. Manager.
Can we get a
The
clarification?
recommendation was to make it one way
Right,
from 8 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon when school was in session.
okay,
That's what the council recommended last week.
okay.
So we drafted the ordinance to make it 8 to 4, Monday through Friday while school is in session. But this would amend it to make it only 8:30 to 9:30 and 3 to 4, Monday through Friday while school is in session.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, to the maker, is that what it currently is, Councilman Milonazo?
No, right now it's actually all day. I guess I'll defer to the
Yeah, well,
manager, but
what's the date today?
today's the 22nd. It goes back
Oh,
to
it's
the
the
original.
20th. That's what it is right now.
So, I mean, I guess I said, your suggestion is to bring it back to the original?
Correct. We did get a petition last week. I was told there's a couple of hundred signatures on it, but in the calls that I did get this week, it was clear to me that the neighbors and even those that are associated with the school directly feel that it should go back to the original way. But again, this is going to go to a public hearing, so people will have their, correct?
Yes, correct, but if you're going to amend it, it's wise to amend it now, because that way we'll advertise the public
Correct,
hearing
right.
for the amended hours.
And again, selfishly, I think I'd rather have 50 people down here supporting it than 50 people down here.
Actually, if nothing is done, it reverts back to 8:30 to 9:30 on Thursday. Because the 60-day expires, and then you don't have to do anything for it to just revert back to what it is.
But then there's
now.
no public hearing.
Right, well, all right, but Councilor Elliott has the floor. It's just.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My questions have been answered. Appreciate it.
You all set? Councilor Mercy?
But, Mr. Mayor, didn't it seem like they were supporting closure from 8 to 4? That's what I thought they all agreed to. Now we're coming here saying that, no, they didn't agree. I don't know. I don't know what to believe now. I believe that last week when they were here, they agreed that it was best to go 8 to 4. That's my opinion. I didn't hear
Council
any
Rourke,
calls.
Council Leahy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that last week, when people that spoke on it, I guess there was an 11:30 dismissal for maybe preschool kids, and then at 1 o'clock, there was another dismissal of something else that was going on at the school. So I
That's
thought
right.
that what was told to us was there wasn't just the 8:30 to 3:30 or the 8 to 4
Went all day.
drop off and pick up. So maybe going to a public hearing will at least allow those people to come to address their concerns as far as the reason why the motion was made to change the ordinance.
Council Leahy.
That, I was just gonna say that my understanding was that, there were more people wanted to go back to the 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the afternoon. So it seemed a little confusing, but, most of the neighborhood, I thought, wanted it back to where, the original way it was.
Okay, you a second? Council Leahy?
Yeah, just real quick, I mean, I think part of the issue, though, too, is I think the principal was saying there was additional time during the afternoon. So my understanding is we do nothing, we go back to the regular, which was like similar to other schools in the city, you know, being the Maury, what have you. But I think there was a concern during the afternoon. So I don't know, I think if we leave it at 8 to 4, we could always change it and amend it back.
That's right,
So I
that's
think we
right.
should at least clarify the hours in terms of, is there really a hazard from 11:30 to 12 or not a hazard? And I do agree with Councilor Leahy, and I think other councilors, you know, the majority of the neighborhood wanted to go back to 8:30 to 9. I think that's the way I understood it. But there was some ambiguous stuff regarding, was there an afternoon issue?
Okay. Any Councilor Samaras?
Okay. I believe the majority of people want to go back to the original, but under the 60-day trial, that was all week, correct? That was every day, including Saturday and Sunday. And I think that's what caused a lot of the problems for the people in the neighborhood. The request was to go back to the original times, early in the morning and the close of school. It was the principal who then came before us and stated that she'd like to see the 8 to 4. So at this point, you know, I was told there were at least 200 signatures. I've seen that form, and they said approximately 200 more that would want to go back to the original format. But as Councilor Rourke said, and Councilor Leary, perhaps we should just wait for the hearing to make sure we get all the necessary information, and the traffic engineer can assure us that whatever happens will be a safe approach.
Okay, so what's before us is an amendment to the time set in the public hearing, which would amend the time back to 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning and 3 to 4 in the afternoon, right? Councilor Elliott?
That was part of my question. So if this ordinance needs to be sent to a public hearing, and as written, it will continue the times that are in effect now. And if we do nothing, then the 60-day trial expires Thursday. So we either send this to a public hearing or it reverts back. All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any further discussion on the amendment?
So just to clarify, so if we vote yes, you're voting to go to a public hearing on April 5th, basically. If you vote no,
We have an amendment to change the times,
correct.
all right? If the amendment passes, then
You
there'll
revert
be,
back to-
or even if it doesn't pass, then we would vote on the main motion, which is to send it to a public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Are we good to go? Roll call.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
So yes is to support this amendment?
Yes.
No.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
No.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
No.
Counsel Elliott.
No.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes?
Counsel Leahy. Yes. Amendment five yeas, 4 nays.
The
Mayor, if I
amendment
could,
passes.
could I make a motion to change my vote? I'd like to change my vote to no, so I'd like to go to public hearing, if I could.
You-
See, I
okay.
misunderstood. I thought we were going to go to a public hearing in the
Yeah.
second vote. Okay.
Yeah, that was just to amend the times. So now the main motion before us is to send it to a public hearing,
Right.
as amended, with the new times. And you want to make that motion?
you want the new?
No,
times?
no, it's fine. So basically, we can have we can re-vote again if there's
Yes.
additional, okay. I'll make that motion to go to
Okay,
public
we have a
hearing.
motion to send to a public hearing on April 5th, 2016 at 7 PM. Seconded by Council Leahy. Discussion on the main motion.
Yeah.
Council Relly.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'm confused.
Yeah,
We,
this is
we
crazy.
either have a public hearing to change it, or if we don't want to change it, then we shouldn't have a public hearing, because the 60-day trial will expire. And so we don't need to go to a public hearing to revert it back to what it already is.
If I could, Counselor, I think that what you said makes perfect sense. And the only reason for having the public hearing is so that the public can come in and be heard, and the council can hear whether or not it makes sense to keep it 8:30, 9:30, and 3 to 4, or go back to what was requested before
Okay,
we
that's-
asked for the public hearing. That's the only reason to have the public hearing at this point.
Okay.
Council Mercia.
But the public hearing isn't to support what's before us from 8 to 4, right?
That's
It's-
correct.
It's the public hearing to have the amendment brought with the different hours. I'm
That's,
for a public hearing, but I'm not for those hours, because there are other children that get dropped off at different hours, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock. What are we, just having it, closing it off from 8 to 9, and then 2 to 3 or whatever? I don't support that when there's other grades coming in. Number one, that is a school before it's anything else. It's a school. It's children, and it's their safety. I think lifting it, but that's still my opinion. I mean, I don't mind having a public hearing to hear people speak, but I'm not holding a public hearing to have people talk about something that I don't support.
I think, Counselor, that at the public hearing, the times could be amended if that was the wish of the council at that time, after hearing from the public on April 5th. So that's the reason for having the public hearing. You know, I guess if the amendment didn't pass, and we just voted this in for a public hearing, after the public hearing was held, we still could have voted to send it back to 8:30 to 9:30. So what we're doing is just starting off in one way or the other. It's gonna, as long as we're having the public hearing, it doesn't so much matter, I don't think, about the amendment. Any further discussion? Council Rowe.
Sorry to ask again, but to Councilor Elliott's point, so we will definitely have a public hearing on this on April 5th.
If there's 5 votes to do so.
Just for my own notification, I apologize, my fault for not getting all the procedures. So basically, my concern has been the afternoon, is an afternoon point in time that I'd like to get more information on that the principal had presented. So at that point, we could amend at the April 5th meeting. Okay, so that's really in my intent. I mean, that's why we'd go to a public hearing, to see if there's actually a concern or not a concern.
Okay. Are we good on that?
The one thing regarding the public hearing is, first of all, the council can certainly have a public hearing, even though that's already what's on the books. If after the end of the public hearing, a determination was made that a change was warranted, then a public hearing has served a function. If, however, a change is warranted, then I would suggest there be, yet again, a further public hearing, keeping in mind that if there is a new proposal, the public should have a right to know what that new proposal is. There may be some people out there that, given the advertisement, are happy with that, and are not going to appear. But if new hours appeared as the result of that public hearing, they might have then, had they been aware of that, come to the meeting. So if there is going to be a change as the result of that public hearing, it may be that it will trigger yet a further public hearing.
So, Madam Solicitor, just as a point of information, so what you're suggesting, I think if I'm understanding you correctly, is that we maybe just should have sent it to the public hearing with the whole 8 to 4, and then we could tone that down from there, rather than to do it the way we're doing it now with the amendment? Is that what you're saying?
That would have made
That
more
actually
sense.
would probably
More sense.
still end up triggering some sort of notice requirements to people, because you're dealing with traffic and the change of hours and the use of the streets.
Okay, all
I
right.
mean, the only other option would have been maybe if it went to if there was a subcommittee that was advertised to take up the hearing, or to take up the matter, and the public was invited to it, and then a determination was made to the subcommittee. And then from that point, you would have a public hearing depending on what was decided.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So,
Absolutely.
I think if, procedurally as well, so let's see, correct me if I'm wrong, if it goes to a public hearing, not amended as it originally appeared tonight, and it fails, then it would revert back to the original hours that were asked to be amended, so, just to throw something else on the plate.
so,
Go ahead, Councilor Samaras.
Just a question. I think Councilor Elliott asked a question about the number of cars. Could the traffic engineer, before this hearing, do some type of assessment as to what type of traffic is present at the school between the hours of 8 and 4?
Mr. Manager?
Yes, I think we won't be able to do the classic traffic count, but we'll be able to gather some information relative to how many vehicles come there on a daily basis.
Just to give us an idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Mercy?
so, Mr. Mayor, what are the hours as they stand right now?
As amended, what will be advertised is the hours would be 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning and
Yes.
3 to 4 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion, Councilor Leahy?
So just one quick question, for clarification. We, maybe through you, the solicitor, we couldn't just say public hearing to set the times of the restrictions at the school, whether it be 8:30 to 9:30, 4:30, or 8 to 4 in the afternoon. You can't just include it and have everybody come and speak on it?
No, really, you can't, because the public would have to know what actually is being proposed by the council with some level of specificity.
Well, we're specifying Plan A or Plan B, so come and speak on it. You can't just advertise, okay, that would seem easy.
No.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
And this is to send it to public hearing as amended.
Yes.
Council Leary,
Yes.
Council Mercia,
Yes, yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next order of business are subcommittee reports. We have a report from the Public Safety Subcommittee from March 22nd, 2016. Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Tonight we have the Public Safety Subcommittee meeting on two ordinances, on two issues, the jaywalking, and we had a report from the schools on safety protocol. So first, we dealt with the school issue at the meeting with the manager, all the counselors, Dr. Kafawi from Superintendent of Schools, Assistant Superintendent Janine Durkin, Superintendent Taylor, Sergeant Dave Peasley, Kevin Coughlin, Traffic Engineer Nick Bossinetto. We had a very thorough report from Assistant Superintendent Janine Durkin. She handed out a packet which was very thorough. It had a lot of information, protocol, different scenarios that could happen throughout the school, any type of counseling, emergency notifications, emergency protocol. She emphasized the importance of the assistance that she gets with the fire department, police department, and also local businesses in the area. So she assured us, and she gave us a very good report, that they are prepared to deal with the smallest crisis to large crisis. They have a good updated all their protocol, all their procedures, and that they feel very confident in handling the safety of their students and working with the staff throughout the city. So it was a good conversation to have with her. This was prompted by a motion by myself and Councilor Samaras, just to make sure that the public knows that, that their children are safe in the schools, and that we're doing everything we can to keep them safe, and that we're constantly updating our procedures and working to make sure that we can offer, complete safety to the students and confidence to the parents at the schools. Second part of the meeting, we talked about the jaywalking, the bicycling, and the skateboarding on the sidewalks, especially in the downtown. The manager gave us a overview of what they've been working on with the police department. First of all, it starts with the education and signage. Then we're going to go deal with the enforcement of it. We're going to look at the fines. The fines probably should be a little bit stiffer. Mr. Coughlin gave us an overview of how they're working on the safety issues in the downtown, what the rules are throughout the downtown and the neighborhoods and how they differ. And again, we emphasize the education and clarification of the rules for everybody to, so they know what they should and shouldn't be doing. We touched on pedestrian education and driver education as well. So the key here is start out with the education, then the enforcement, and getting the cooperation of everybody in the downtown. So if my colleagues have anything else to add. So,
Okay, any further discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to accept it as a report of progress by Council Leary, seconded by Council Rourke. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next item is under petitions. Miscellaneous is a petition by Lori Gibson to request one handicap parking sign be installed at 27 Fremont Street. We have a motion to refer to the traffic engineer for report and recommendation by Council Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, the City Council motions. The first motion of the evening is a motion by Council Elliott to request that the City Council discuss the performance evaluation of the city manager and establish a time frame to conduct the process. Second by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Elliott.
Well, it looks like we took the first step tonight, Mr. Manager, with your presentation. So I know that you sent us an evaluation document, and motion was made by Council Leary a number of months ago to conduct a formal evaluation. So I thought it was timely that the council discuss, how to go about doing that, using that, using the information that you sent. So I don't have anything in mind in particular, but maybe I would suggest we use that evaluation document that you sent to us and, take a week or two and then get it back to, or set a time to have that evaluation. So I would throw that out as a suggestion, a week, 2 weeks, something like that.
Council Belanger, then Council Leahy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do support the motion by Council Elliott. I think it's probably a good move that we direct this to the Personnel Subcommittee, Mr. Mayor. So I'll make a motion to...
We have a motion referred to the Personnel Subcommittee, seconded by Council Leahy. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? So voted. Next is a motion by Council Leahy to request the city manager have Melrose and Shirley Avenues paved during the upcoming paving season. Seconded by Council Rourke. Council Leahy.
Thank you. Just having looked at these streets this week, I didn't know if we could have someone go up there and take a look at them. It's kind of a tricky situation where Shirley and Melrose Ave land on, I believe it's Malden Street. So Malden seems to be up a little higher than the other two streets, which doesn't allow for proper drainage. And the ends of the streets where they meet Malden are really taking a beating, and they're almost to the point where one of the streets is deteriorating very badly. So if there's any way we can take a look at this, I don't think it's has to do with anything with curbing or anything, so I don't know if we have to use Chapter 90 funds on it. And then I got a little history today that think we need to check out, that I don't know if these streets are accepted, so we'll have to check into that. But it's my understanding that we've been working on it for a while, so they may or may not be accepted, but that might be a little problem with that too. But if we get, the main thing is if we can take a look at them, even if you decide it's just partial pavement, that would take care of the problem too. Maybe the whole street isn't all that bad, but I know towards the end, they're really in rough shape. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some time ago, when Councilor Joe Mendonça was on board, we kind of felt the same when it came to accepting so many streets per year. And I know it's not a simple thing to do. They have to measure and countermeasure, and it has to go to the Register of Deeds, and so many things take place here. But we asked that the commitment be made that we could accept a certain amount of streets, maybe 5, 6, or whatever. So I think this is the time. I haven't seen any before us in such a long, long time. And I know sometimes we don't have enough people working in a particular department, and I wish I would have said this when Lisa DeMayo was still here, but I really want to get back and buckle down and try to accept more streets, and perhaps this made me think of it, if they might not be accepted, and I know they certainly probably do need to be repaved. The thing with that area is their streets there are always seeming to be underwater. There's a brook there that elevates, and so that kind of adds to this confusion here. But we should look and try to be diligent to fulfill our commitment to try to get more streets accepted in the city. That's what I would, and maybe we could start there. Thank you.
Any further discussion, Mr. Manager?
Thank you, through you. No, that's an excellent point. Just probably a couple of months ago, we accepted 80 Way, which was part of the River's Edge. But the reason we were able to accept 80 Way is because that was built in compliance with Department of Transportation specifications. That's one of the problems with accepting streets. In order to qualify for the Chapter 90 money, they have to have the proper curbing, So I'll certainly talk to the city engineer about the status of acceptance of streets and if there are any that are ripe to be accepted right now.
Thank you, that's good.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Councilor Samaras to request that the city manager of the proper department provide a report regarding maintenance and enhancement of street lighting between Prescott, Warren, and Middlesex streets, including the properties in and around the area of UMass Lowell and Middlesex Community College. Seconded by Councilor Rohr, Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Mr. Manager, I think you know in this area here, there's lighting that's the responsibility of the city, but there's also lighting that's the responsibility of Middlesex Community College and the University of Lowell at the hotel. If you were to go to an event at the auditorium and go to the garage by the university and walk over the bridge, you'll find that many of the lights that are the responsibility of either the college or the community college are out. And if you're coming from Prescott Street into the alleyway, you'd find that there's very poor lighting. So if possible, I'd like to have you with the proper people assess the lighting in that area and see what we can do to enhance better lighting, because it is an area used by many people who are new to Lowell, who come in to see the theater or an event at the auditorium or to an event at the college. So whether they're coming from Middlesex Street or from Warren Street, this is where we really, I think, have to put our best foot forward and assure people that they have the proper lighting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All opposed? So voted. The last motion of the evening is a motion by Councilor Leary to request the city manager review the feasibility of turning the Christian Hill open reservoir into a public park and/or recreational space. Seconded by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Leary.
Just real quick, this is like coming from I guess the report was for the council in November from the DCR regarding the safety of that particular open reservoir. If you can, a lot of folks realize that open reservoir is about 5 acres wide. It hasn't been in use since 1994. looking into that, it has been a safety concern. The fence is always broken into. There's actually fish in that reservoir, and folks are continuously getting into it. So initially looking at it as a safety concern and that type of financial to back that up, it really is next to what we call a passive park. And the intent really is to take a look to see if there's an opportunity, if it's feasible, to fill that in, really drain it, has no use, make that an additional passive park as the other parts of it exist, if that makes any sense, and if it's affordable. At the end of the day, that report in November basically said we got to continuously repair the fence, sending folks up there, on and on, repairing it. There's been other issues with, different type of, needles being found, et cetera. So anything we can do to take a look at it. I think that the more you look into it, talking to some of the neighbors, they are really more about a passive park as opposed to, a basketball court or something in that effect. So that's anything we can do to take a look at that. It can only be a benefit for the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor? All opposed, so voted. Under announcements, the chair has one announcement, and that is that the Lowell Cultural Council will host a grant recipients reception on Thursday, March 24, 2016, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Onyx Room at Weston Avenue Studios, 122 Weston Avenue in Lowell, Mass. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and there is another announcement. There's a public hearing on Monday, March 28th at 6 o'clock. It's the improvement to the Lod Overpass and the surrounding area. It's going to be held at the Lowell Senior Center, 276 Broadway Street. And again, that's on Monday, March 28th at 6 o'clock to discuss the Lod Overpass. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other announcements? Councilor Leahy.
Just like a quick announcement that this year's St. Patty's Day dinner was a success, so the manager and senator did a great job, and the mayor, you were pretty funny, so just wanted to announce that.
That's very generous of you, Councilor Leahy. Councilor Elliott?
There was just something on our desk tonight that there's a ticket. I think it's I think anybody can go, but this is for paper lanterns, and it isn't Drake, but April 3rd. Oh, this is by invitation only. Whoops. But I'm sure they wouldn't mind. I think it's just this is about the film that they made relative to this young Japanese boy who he survived the explosion and later learned that 12 American POWs. He spent 35 years tracking down the families. This was that article that was in the paper. I think it's pretty good. But it's showing Sunday, April 3rd. So I don't know. It was by invitation only.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor
Not anymore.
Samaras.
We have one more event was listed tonight. April 7th, 2016 will be the kickoff of the Downtown Lowell's First Thursday. And this will include galleries open throughout the downtown Lowell, first ever creative lighting on the Canal Gatehouses, Waterfall, and Hugh Lock Chambers, the live University of Lowell, Mass. And Middlesex Community College student musicians. So many events that make the first Thursdays quite an event for families. So April 7th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further announcements? We have a motion adjourned by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Rourke. All in favor, all opposed? Stand adjourned.